I'm not starting over.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I've been recording on my phone to make sure, but
Perfect.
I noticed the YouTube wasn't going, so we got it. I just want to make sure.
Perfect, thank you. So the next agenda item that we have are public comments on non-agenda items. As I mentioned before that, a lot of you get your documentation through web-based. So there was an amendment to the agenda for item 1, which is the Chapter 90, Article 3 amendment regarding multiple sections that were in the code, and staff has deferred that request. I don't know necessarily what post-discussion is, Mr. Grummer, altogether. What does that mean? If it's deferred, we can't discuss it.
I just wanted to make some comments for the reason for the deferral, but you can go
Sure.
ahead, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, if it's on, I just asked you what the purpose of I'm not familiar with that comment, that's why I asked. So that being said, let's stop here. And so that, so what I'm gonna allow is that, so that would move, there's a few people here that were asking to speak on the item, and so that would move them up to public comments on non-agenda items. I don't want to dismiss the opportunity for you to speak if you want, but it's for non-agenda items. If not, it would be deferred typically to the next scheduled meeting, as staff's going to probably ask for here when the action comes up, or it may be 2 months. I'm not for sure, but it's not going to be discussed tonight.
Mr. Chair, I'm the one that put those comments on that one, and also a further down code amendment, and I think it was more to get the recommendations of the Planning Commission as well as comments from the public to bring back next month as well. So it's, in some ways, it's like a discussion, but the final motion would be to defer.
Yeah, we can't do that. If it's not listed as item for discussion and it doesn't go out as an item for discussion, we can't discuss it because the public's, they don't know what we're doing. So they thought we were going to show up today and discuss and take action. So.
Legal notices were placed for these code amendments.
Right. Mr. Chair, may I comment just real quickly?
I'm listening.
Since the subcommittee discussion earlier this month, staff has received additional public comments and feedback regarding the proposed amendments to Chapter 90 that warrant further review. In addition to these comments, along with staff failure to incorporate tree preservation methodology and construction phase protection measures, staff recommends tabling this item to the December 18th, 2025 PC meeting to provide more time to review and update accordingly.
We would need to defer it rather than table it, because table it means it's going to be heard the next meeting. So I would recommend that we defer it rather than table it. Yeah, any opposition to that?
No, sir.
Okay. So that being said, is there anybody here that wishes to speak on non-agenda items that wish to speak on number 1, or anybody else that has it? I don't have any cards here before me that I went through that had non-agenda items, other than now item number 1. Mr. Mosley, you're recognized.
Yes, I'm not sure I understand exactly what's going on, but I'll get this in case there's no opportunity. But
State your name, address for the record.
I'm sorry. I'm Steve Mosley, 16 Riverwood Place, Maumelle, Arkansas. As far as the land across the street from Riverland, and I can't ever remember how it's referred to, but I wanted to check and see if Mr. Grummer has had a chance to determine any penalties or tree replanting or something like that for the trees that were cut down in that first area that was clear cut. And that's all I've got tonight. Hopefully
Thanks, Steve. Good to see you. Mr. Grummer.
Staff doesn't assess penalties. The courts do, so the citation has been issued.
It's a matter of public record, Steve, so I'm sure that you can call the city attorney perhaps and request that and see what the citation is. So number 1, I will need a motion. Staff's already presented, so we need a motion to deferral to the next regular scheduled meeting. December. I'm having trouble with that.
I'll go with that.
17th, and John, you told me to.
18th.
18th.
Yes, sir. I move to defer item Code Adjustment 25-4, Chapter 90, Article 3 Amendment, deferring it to the December 18th regular City Planning Commission meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing first and second, Commission will now act on the deferral request by staff for Chapter 90, Article 3 Amendment. All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The motion is deferred. The next two items of business, staff has withdrawn on those. I didn't have any number twos. I don't believe. Let me run through it one more time. So I didn't have that same case as item number one. Well, Steve, you had it on here, so I apologize. So if you wish to discuss about number two, I'll allow you to do it, but it would be for public comment on non-agenda items. You wish to speak? This was number two, was the Lot 700A motion to renew and rehear the denied plans and variances. That was the property that you're referencing, I believe. No? Very good. Did I overlook anybody else? Very good. So, item number one has been withdrawn, which is the Chapter 90, moved to Chapter 94. All this has to do really with the first old business item. And then number two, the motion to renew and rehear the denied plans and variances, staff has withdrawn that as well. So now we're on number three, which is the Haas property grading plan. So we have a preliminary grading plan for 6.8 acres of property located in 99 block of White Oak Crossing. So staff, who is ever presenting?
This is just a preliminary grading plan to allow the applicant to grade the property. I believe Mr. Andrews is here if you'd like to speak more on it. We kind of leave this up to the Planning Commission to review. They've met the requirements and have you look at the grading and drainage plans and the erosion control plans. And it takes like approximately, I think, a 6-month time period on the installation of culverts and the grading itself.
Let me get caught up here. Rory, do you have any open comments?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am, go
Chair.
ahead.
My question has to do with the comment on the response from Eric Holloway to Mr. Rahman. It says a geotechnical report has not been completed. And, you know, the subsequent document talks about how there will be some further studies, but help me understand why that wouldn't be done first before you start doing all the grading and the road, the street.
Roy Andrews, 200 Casey Drive. So let me back up and give just a little bit of history on this project. This landowner, this is in Maumelle, this landowner lost a business because his site wasn't ready, and this site across the street, which is in North Little Rock, had a culvert and was more shovel ready than his site. So he is seeking the driveway culvert and additional grading to make the site more feasible for quicker construction. So that's the intent of this project. Located in Maumelle, not North Little Rock. So if it's approved and he can do the work, then yes, he will get a geotechnical study to do that. But if it's not approved, he doesn't want to spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a geotechnical study when it's not going to be approved. That's the intent on that.
Okay. I mean, it's addressed what he, you know, it comments about having it done later.
Because there'll not only be the initial report, but then there'll be testing that'll happen while the fill's being placed. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So can you help me out with the, before I address comments, can you help me out with the two phases? There's two phases.
On the erosion control plan?
Yeah, both, yeah, why?
Some cities are requiring a 3-phase approach, and it helps because you're trying to show pre-construction,
Okay.
during construction, and post-construction,
Okay.
and it's easier to show on multiple sheets, and that's why we break them out on different sheets. But the intent is they'll put the silt fence up prior to starting, get all the erosion control methods in place. While they're working, it'll, just the silt fence and everything, if they have any concrete washout when they put the drive apron in, we show that. And then post-construction, everything has to be seeded per ADEQ, and the silt fence taken down.
Okay, thank you. So I have a couple comments. So, I mentioned these in subcommittee as well too, but, and I can give them later in writing if necessary from staff. So I want you to, and this will be for actually all the grading drainage, and it goes for, and the SWIP as well too, because we have just one item we're acting on, which is a preliminary grading plan, but you provided the SWIP as well too, so we appreciate that. But I want you to clearly delineate what that clearing zone buffer is, on both the grading of the drainage plan and the SWIP. So, and along that clearing, area, I do want the orange fencing, to go along with it. If the silt fence goes in front of it, that's fine. And then it needs to delineate of what that orange fencing is. It needs to clearly be shown on the legend. And then I want you to also on a spacing over 50 feet, 100 feet, 50 to 100 feet. Let's look at where it's from a practical standpoint, is that you'll delineate and note that as a non-clearing buffer zone.
Like with
A
a sign?
a placard.
Okay.
And you can work with staff on what the placard is to be done, you know, something that's weathered, something that will withstand the weather. So I want all that done and noted prior to the commencement of the clearing by your contractor. And then I want staff to go out there and approve that those items are in place and to be done prior to any clearing activities to commence.
Okay.
Any question about those comments?
No? Simple.
That concludes my, any other?
I have one other
Mary,
comment
yes,
then.
ma'am, Mary.
On the letter from the city engineer, number 9, he mentions, strictly following City of Maumelle ordinance requirements concerning, he stipulates, again, erosion control, pavement construction, construction quality, construction inspection, and all other construction-related issues. My question is, do we need to be more specific about the storm drainage language that we changed and added? Does that have to be in there, or again, that's all under construction-related issues?
I think, Mary, and I appreciate staff providing us as much information they have on the application, but when these response letters went back and forth, I don't think a grading plan requirement was in effect. That ordinance came after these letters, is that correct?
That is correct.
So now we have an ordinance in effect for the grading plan, Mary, that covers some of those items. The SWIP, to me in the code, the SWIP being in place prior to clearings, well, not as required by law, by DEQ, but I believe it's required as well here by the city.
Okay.
So, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So now we have a whole ordinance that kind of covers this grading.
Okay.
And so some of those comments are incorporated in the requirements of the grading.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Chair would entertain a motion, seeing none. Thank you, Roy.
I'll tackle this.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve grading plan 25-4, Haas property grading contingent on further staff, commissioner, and city engineer comments.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing first and second, commission now asks for act on the Haas property grading plan, 61 acres of property located at the 9900 block of White Oak Crossing, pending the comments by staff and commissioners. All those in favor of approving the grading plan say yes.
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 All opposed, no. The grading plan passes. The next item is a Board of Adjustment. Do we need to open BOZA for this? Provide
No, sir,
clarification?
this is section 70, so it's planning commission approval.
Thank you. So the next item is a Board of Adjustment item out of section 70. So for the Sonic Board of Adjustment, this is an application regarding approval of a curb cut within 100 foot of an intersection. So I think there was a sketch in there for you. The question that I had regarding this, of staff, is that he's only before us with the variance. Does he not have to come back in with a plan for you to review and approve?
They will, if they get the variances approved, they will come to us with a development plan modification that can be done at staff level. Because it's not adding any building footage or
It does
anything of
not
that
have to,
nature.
as far as I'm concerned, it does not have to come back before the commission.
That is correct. What they have here is what we told them they need to provide. They don't, a variance at 70 does not require a full site plan, just a scale drawing as you had asked for at the subcommittee meeting that shows everything. And then they will come to us with a development plan modification request, if they are approved for the variance.
Any other issues? Is that okay, Mr. Commissioner?
Nope.
Okay, that's it. Good. Very good. Any questions of applicant? We do have a representative that's here. Rose. Did you have anything to say? You did fill out a comment card, I appreciate that, but I didn't know if you were just here to answer. Your card said to answer questions.
Yeah, I'm here to answer questions, so if I need to step up, I will, if not.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Merritt, come to the podium and state your name, address for the record, please, sir.
Todd Pruitt, 108 Diamond Point Drive, Maumelle, Arkansas.
Hi, Todd. A couple just questions because I'm curious. With that curb cut, I've driven over there and looked at everything. Did you do any type of observational study or just direct observation of the concern about any potential increase in crash risk because of, you know, it's close to that intersection as you turn onto Maumelle? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and so we're pretty open to anything. We have observed it. We're okay with it being a right turn only. Do not enter sign, you can't go in that way. It's just with the way the Sonic's set up over there with so many people going in, with the vehicles getting bigger and bigger, with them to come into drive-through and coming out, it's getting kind of like a stoppage. So when they're pulling in, sometimes they're stopping to wait for them, people pulling in behind them, they're still parked out in the street. So it's just, we just want to kind of eliminate that.
So is that congestion happening throughout normal business hours or again periodically in
Yeah,
peak
so
hours of
it's,
operations?
yeah, so it's happening more in like lunch period, breakfast rush, lunch rush, dinner rush. Then we do have quite a bit of kids at night that hang out there. So that blocks up part of our parking.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir, John, go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned right-hand only. Will it be a right-hand only coming out?
We're okay with whatever you guys.
The
Would
arrow's
like.
indicating is straight, so it's not clear.
Okay.
That's why you're getting those questions.
Whenever we sat down and talked about it, we talked about if we would be able to turn left or go right only. We're okay either way. We just want to try to make it safer on the exit. After standing out there, I mean, I was out there today by the sign watching. People coming in off isn't consistent off of the boulevard. So I don't see a problem with them being able to turn left. I just don't know how y'all feel about it. So I just wanted to.
Quick question to the city. Go ahead.
So staff went out to the site and did a visual inspection to kind of watch, and the deceleration lane on the boulevard has shown ample visibility down the line and vehicles slowing down. So we didn't see any major conflict with the left-hand turn, but I'll leave that up to the commission, what you feel.
Okay. Because if you, right-hand turn, obviously, you get back on the boulevard, but if a left-hand turn, it would enhance the ability to go to the Track D, Kroger, and other places out of Sonic. So, my personal opinion, if city doesn't have, staff doesn't have an issue with it in their observation, me personally, I don't. I do appreciate you creating the pedestrian sidewalk from the boulevard. I walk that and
Yeah.
going across the grass. Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely, we wanna go with what the city, they kind of explained, what you guys are wanting to do. So we're absolutely on board with it. We just wanna do what's best for the guest, honestly.
Do we need to put that in the motion, or the sidewalk being shown is enough?
The plan that we put in there is for, that's what we're
That's what
agreeing
you're
to do.
asking? Okay,
Yeah.
so
I think it's important to understand from the commission's standpoint, he's only asking for a variance, so it may look a lot different than this when it comes in. So city engineer reviews it, you may have to go to 2 lanes if you want left or right. If you don't want, I don't know what he's going to say.
So-
now you're gonna get the variance, then you go to the next step because you're not presented that tonight.
Correct.
And then, so you still have to go through staff review, which that includes our engineer as well too. So I don't know where that's gonna lead for you, so I'm not necessarily hung up on is it left or is it right, unless you wanna see it again. Is it left or right, and we'll let staff and our engineer or city engineer determine.
We definitely wanna just keep it a single lane, so even if they are able to take a left out, we wanna keep it very minimal. We don't wanna do 2
But
lanes.
the variance doesn't include that. The variance only gives you permission for to place the curb cut
Mhm.
within the intersection length that's required by code, which is 100 foot.
Right.
So you can express that. I don't know what they're gonna say,
Okay.
or what staff is gonna say. I know that you came up with this sketch, but it's just the variance allowing the cut.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, in response to Commissioner Jones' comments, staff with this variance is requesting the addition of a sidewalk be placed on the site plan. This is consistent with our request to Starbucks when they asked for the additional curb cut because they did not have a sidewalk and we were trying to take care of walkability issues in the area.
So then the variance would need to state that. I don't know, John, if we can, I just want to be cautious about what the applicant has asked for and for us to be putting requirements on that's more site plan, development plan level.
Understand.
Because the engineer's not reviewed it. I don't know if he has or not. I don't.
In my opinion, it enhances what we're trying to do, and
Sure.
and I'm more apt to approve a variance with their cooperation with it, with having the walkability. That's my point on it. So I understand if we don't wanna put that in the contingents, but.
You can if you so choose. But he's not, I don't know. I was a little confused when this came through because it wasn't developed and it was just asking for the variance, and it even looks different than what we saw at subcommittee for that matter, a little bit. So,
I will say this, if I do the motion, I will be putting that in there.
very good.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? I have no further comment. Chair, entertain a motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, go ahead. You had some comments you want to make sure you're on the record here.
No problem. I move to approve Board of Adjustment 25-3, Sonic Board of Adjustment, contingent upon further staff, commissioner, and city engineer comments, including a walking sidewalk to the area. Is that-
Did you want to condition the variance based upon left and right hand movement? Or no?
No.
Very good. Hearing a motion 4 on the table, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Hearing a first and second, we'll now act on the Sonic Board of Adjustment for the 100-foot, or for the variance to the 100-foot intersection requirement for section 7140G3. All those in favor of the variance with the comments stated, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no.
No.
Very good. Ms. Mary has 1, so we have 1 in opposition. You got 1 absent. Well, yeah, that goes in opposition as well. Motion still passes. Okay, so we got, moving on to our next item for this evening. So we've got, this is the Wynwood Heights Phase 1, has several public comments. We'll let staff introduce the application, and then we'll let the folks that have requested time to speak to come forward. We do have quite a few. If you support one, we understand the comments. I'm not going to get 3. Let's just target around 3 minutes each, if we would please, or if we could do so, it would be appreciated. So we got this Wynwood Heights Phase 1, which is a 55-lot townhome subdivision between Millward Circle and Edgewood Drive. It's got a new roadway extending to Wynwood, and whichever staff member is going to present, please move forward with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you mentioned, this is a 55 townhome development. This is individual lotted townhomes with driveways and garages, not centralized parking. It would be, as shown, a extension of Wynwood Lane from Edgewood to the main entry, which would be off of Millwood Circle. The development has 40% open space out of 8 acres. The proposed development is 8 units per acre, sits between the density found nearby with the Edge Hill Townhomes at 14 acres and the Wynwood Village subdivision, single-family development of 7 units per acre. It's within range of an R2 density for PRD zones, which has a range of 6 to 12 units per acre and is a permitted use from 94449B1C. With 55 lots, an extra 291 vehicle trips per day could be expected. This is within the range for a residential road and for connection onto a collector such as Millwood and Edgewood. The ITE shows an expected trips per dwelling of 5.81, and that is where the 297 comes from. Intersection with Edgewood would involve connection through Wynwood Lane, which is somewhat smaller than the proposed road, but prior plating has shown Wynwood Lane extending beyond the boundaries. The proposed development includes 2 detention ponds, and the preliminary drainage appears to maintain the current flow in the area and may be beneficial to the area once built out. Applicant has proposed building a fence or additional screening along the boundary of Wynwood Village subdivision, although the closest point from building to property line is roughly 25 feet. There is reference that townhomes may be considered multifamily, however, with individual lots and private drives, staff considers these 0 lot line. The applicant has a minimum of 25 feet from the nearest building to property line of Wynwood Village and intends to screen with fence and additional vegetation as needed, and proposes lots ranging from 2,000 square feet to 2,400 square feet with 1,800 square foot units. Staff recommends a due pass for the preliminary development plan, contingent on further commissioner and city engineer comments, and also approval of the preliminary plat, contingent on further staff, commission, and/or city engineer comments. Other comments that were made, you can see in the file from Entergy, CAW, the utilities, and they have met all the comments that we requested on our plats. And city engineer, preliminary civil plan acceptable, additional curb inlets may be required due to the hilly terrain. Review of drainage and detention will continue when grading and drainage plans and drainage and detention reports are received. Fire department, 2 hydrants replaced, Millwood Circle opening, and midway through the development. And those are all the comments from the staff and city departments.
Very good. We will begin with public comment. So, Corte, Mr. Gilbert. So we'll make sure we got the right one. So, these are in no order. I was a little late today. Usually give them an order of receipt, but anyway, that's not going to happen because I was a little late. So, Mr. Wright, you are noted here as a number 5. This is the number 5th item on the agenda. Would you like to speak? You can be recognized right now. Please.
My name's Tommy Wright, John Wright, whatever you want. Have a choice there, but no, I'm just here to support this project. I built probably 80% of the houses in Wynwood from 40 years ago, I'm guessing. I've owned the land for 40 years. And, you know, we've been through several plats that were approved, and I got a request from a developer for what he wanted to do, and he got a deal from D.R. Horton to build, I think it was D.R. Horton, or Lennar One, to build these units on there, and they're proposed townhouses of 1,800 square foot, which there was a lot of the houses that was built in there weren't 1,800 foot, as I recall. And I do think that we have a need for that size houses in Maumelle. And, you know, all the homes being built, as far as I know, in Maumelle, come in the range of $350,000, $400,000. So there's a big need for affordable housing in Maumelle, and this helps meet that requirement. I guess that's it, unless somebody's got any questions.
Good to see you, Tommy.
Okay.
Thank you. We have, when would Miss Janet Bedeau, is that correct? You would state your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Janet Bado. I live at 23 Stone Ledge Drive.
Welcome.
I'm on the other side of the ridge from this. And the property, it's a big piece of property. It's up on a ridge. It's all forested. It's beautiful. We're looking at Maumelle, and we're looking at what's going on Maumelle Boulevard and all of the clear cutting and the flooded. I drove on Maumelle Boulevard this morning. It was flooded in places, and clear cutting causes flooding. And what we would like, what I would like to tell y'all is I understand that there's progress. I understand that we need homes in Maumelle. But 55 townhomes with all of the trees cut and one-car garages all crammed in together on a little bitty street are going to create a lot of issues. Most families have 2 cars. They park, they're going to be parking on the street. The people from the school are going to be using this as a cut through to pick up their kids, and it's going to make a mess. And not to mention the fact that the retention ponds are not really going to be enough. They're going to flood out, and it's going to flood the neighborhood, and they're only on one side, and the ridge goes around. I mean, I look at it and I think, who has come up with this plan? And who would think this is a good plan for Maumelle? The houses in that neighborhood, they are individual houses and they have trees in the yard. It's not a clear cut with a few little ornamental trees, and it needs to be something more. It's going to cause erosion. And if you're going to start with townhomes at the bottom, what are you going to put at the top? And what are you going to put on my side of the ridge? And that's what I'm worried about. I think that the people down below are going to, on Millwood Cove, are going to be flooded out. They're already getting water. I have a waterfall in my yard when it rains hard. And I just think that this is going to flood those people out. It's going to cause erosion. There's a loss of wildlife up there. And I think that it can be a little bit less dense housing with trees preserved, with good trees preserved. And that's what the community wants. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bedeau. Appreciate you coming. Next is Mr. George Grayson. State your name and address for the record, sir.
George Grayson, 23 Stone Ridge Drive, Maumelle.
Welcome.
I am firmly in opposition to this development because, first of all, it's phase 1. We never received any public notice about what was going on with this development except through social media. And that's not acceptable. So, um, as far as addressing the cost of housing in this area, I can understand, but this is not a solution. This is an obstacle. And the lack of information that was not given to us when we noticed it. We noticed it when these orange tape markers were placed on our property, but we never received anything in writing from the city. So this sounds like a conspiracy between the city and the developer. And I will not oppose, I will completely oppose it as it's written. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. You can tell me, Jason, if this address was within the radius of notification.
No, sir, it was not. For the record, the city requires a 300-foot notice of letters that go out to property owners. Any of the Stone Ledge homes are 470-plus feet away, so they would be outside that 300-foot zone, which is actually stronger than most cities have. So all the letters went out to anybody within 300 feet, and actually a little bit further, probably closer to 350 when I drew in the boundary line. So they were notified by certified letter per our codes.
Thank you for the clarification.
I have something more to say. That's not true.
Well, you got a little bit more time, but you're gonna have to approach the lectern if you want to speak anymore.
We received no notice in writing of this, none.
That's what he's trying to explain to you, Mr. Grayson, is that the applicant was not required to do so by the ordinance. And that's
Well, the ordinance needs to be changed.
Well, your comments are well understood, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. David Nance.
David Nance, I'm at 119 Highland Point Cove, and even though my address is Highland Point Cove, I'm actually at the dead end there on Wynwood, so I'm the one that's going to be the most affected by this. Just briefly, I didn't intend to talk about the letters, but it's been well documented in the previous meetings that the letters, blank letters went out at one point. Most of us never received a letter, even though they were sent. By and large, that's a post office issue, but we never once got a letter. We got notice that there was a letter, and it never actually got sent. My concern here is, of course I love the trees, of course I love watching the deer in my backyard. I've lived there for 17 years. We love the small, relatively quiet neighborhood. But my concern is simply the scale of this, the magnitude. We're going from 15 houses and adding 55 houses. For 45 years, this neighborhood has had 15 houses. That's roughly the equivalent. It's actually worse than if the city of Maumelle said to North Little Rock, hey, we've got space. How about if everyone from North Little Rock moved to Maumelle? That would roughly quadruple the population of Maumelle. This would quintuple our population in our neighborhood. It's simply too dense. The neighborhood's too dense already. There's constantly cars parked in the streets. It's difficult for people to get through. Adding another, what did we say, 295 car trips a day? Many of those pass my driveway. That's a significant change in our quality of life. I support the property owner's right to develop the land. I have no objection to that. It's not my land. But I think the city has a responsibility to protect the interests of the people who have been there. And this is, it's simply too dense, too many people. Years ago, there was a plan to have just a single street and add 15 houses. That, to me, seemed like a very reasonable plan. It fit into the neighborhood. It didn't, that was not an entirely bad thing. That fell through, and I was pretty surprised to have this come along years later. But I don't understand. It's my understanding that the developer has said he will plant trees as a privacy buffer. That would be a big step in the right direction. I would like to see that codified so that he's in fact required to do it and doesn't just promise to do it. I saw that he stated Eric Holloway stated on Facebook that he was willing to have the gate with the pass-through for the fire department, and that the city was opposed to that. I don't know anything about that. I wasn't able to attend the last subcommittee meeting, but I know that that was done in the neighborhood just over the hill from us, and I don't understand why that could not be done. A separation of our neighborhood from this new development would make a world of difference to those of us who are in the current neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Alexander Harvey. State your name and address for the record, sir.
I'm Alexander Harvey at 104 Highland Point Cove, which is on the opposite side of the hill from where this is planned to go through the neighborhood. My issue with the development, like David's, stems from turning the neighborhood into a entryway for a much larger development. A big factor in my wife and I buying the house we did is that it is in a quiet area where we're still part of Maumelle, where we also feel isolated, where we feel like we're in a smaller neighborhood. There's children playing out in the roads on both sides. They ride a little scooter down that hill constantly, but with another 295 car trips a day, this becomes a lot bigger of an issue. And while that might be a regular traffic flow for an average residential street, as noted in the community meeting, this street is about 3-ish inches narrower, and with people parking on the streets due to our steep driveways, this is an additional issue of people having to swerve by. I'm also concerned about the potential for an increase in crime rate. We see a lot, if you go on the Nextdoor app, you'll see people constantly complaining about people breaking into cars at night or coming and knocking on their door at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. We don't have that in the neighborhood as it currently exists, because if you want to come in the neighborhood, you either walk 2-3 blocks. I mean, the city hall is closer than the next neighborhood for us, or you go through 5 acres of woods. If someone wanted to drive in there, they have to come in there, they have to make a 3-point turn and leave. It draws attention. We don't have any of those issues that we would have if this is a pass-through road to a much larger community. In addition, we have the traffic issues in front of during school hours, and as the first woman mentioned, there's concern about people using this as a cut-through. When people want to, if they think they can hop a couple places in line turning left off of Millwood, it's a very appealing option to just drive through the neighborhood, and then we end up with cars backed up in front of our houses while they wait to try and make a left-hand turn just to cut in front of 1 or 2 cars between where Millwood would naturally exit. So those are my concerns with it. It largely comes down to a factor of privacy and quality of life there, where we'll be a much louder neighborhood with a lot less safe roads. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes the comment cards that I had, I believe. Ma'am?
Sorry, we came in late.
That's okay. You can speak if it's on this topic. So please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Tammy Seiler, 21 Leisurewood Lane, and we are directly across from the proposed development area. And let me just state that I do agree with everything that's been said. The traffic concerns, the noise concerns, safety concerns, drainage. I don't believe anyone's mentioned utility infrastructure and how that's going to be handled. I know on my street we have low water pressure. We have some issues with electricity occasionally, and I know those concerns are going to have to be addressed. One thing I want to bring up and talk more about is the drainage. So I think the detention ponds are, it's not going to solve the problem. Right now, there is a significant drainage problem. Water flows, I think someone else mentioned the water flowing at their house. I mean, we have significant drainage and water runoff on our property. So when you clear cut all that and try to capture it with 2 ponds, if it works, you're going to have mosquito problems, or mosquitoes are going to be fine because the bats are going to come in and take care of that, and then you've got a bat problem. So I mean, there's no good solution there to clear cut all that and deal with that water. I know the detention ponds by nature are supposed to drain and not hold water, but they're not gonna drain fast enough to not have the mosquito problem. We already have that now with the tunnel. Right now, I guarantee you, because of the rain we had, today, if you go anywhere near that tunnel that goes under the street, you're gonna get eaten alive by mosquitoes. It's gonna be a big problem. That's not gonna be, a sustainable solution. Well, anyway, so traffic's gonna be a huge issue, noise, you know, everything. I wanna just reiterate everything that everyone else here tonight has already said. Noise is gonna be a problem. It's not what any of the neighbors, any of the residents in this area, and it's not why we live here. You know, we do like the deer coming through our yard and drinking out of the neighbor's sprinklers because they don't have any water source anymore. We like the wooded area. We like what Maumelle was and has been for years, and now it's changing, and we're not happy that that's coming to our neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. There was another hand that was raised in the back. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Come to the lectern. State your name and address for the record.
Brian McAnally, 5 Leisurewood Lane.
Welcome.
The current traffic car loading on the road there is at what level currently?
That's, I think the trips were what were the trip staff? 297, a residential, standard section per master plan handles how many trips or how many traffic count a day?
I think a typical residential is well over 1,000. And a collector's closer to 2,000 to 3,000, which is what Millwood is.
So roughly about 20% of the capacity of what a residential street is designed to handle.
Okay, okay. And the current noise level now is what level?
It would be what the current ordinance is.
Okay, okay. Well, that's what I was trying to understand.
There's not a noise level, the residents there would be under the same ordinance required that is for the entire city.
Well, that's what I understand, but it's gonna change the neighborhood considerably, especially with the lack of trees that absorb a lot of that
Sure, understand.
traffic. And if the cars are gonna increase by 300, and where are they at now? I didn't get that number.
Well, there's not any development in the area now for comparison.
Oh.
Zero.
Okay, okay. So it's a 4-lane road right there right now, and I live right on it.
From Millwood you're referencing, correct?
I believe that's the name of the road. I just moved here about 6 months ago.
Glad to have you.
And some of the appeal was the quietness especially. So
Understood.
that's my question. If there's 100 cars going down it now at a noise level here, and then we're gonna increase that by 4 and cut down all the trees, I see it getting a lot noisier.
Is staff aware of any traffic counts on Millwood that's been captured in the last 2 to 3 years?
Not offhand, but we can check.
Might be able to answer that question for you more accurately.
Okay, okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we concluded all of our public comments. I do have a few as well too. So Roy, you represent, come on forward if you would. So we talked about a fence that was kicked around. There is a fence shown on the development plan, but yet it's not in the legend. So what's going on with the fence?
Roy Andrews, 200 Casey Drive. Yes, talking with staff, we did add the fence, and no, I don't have it on the legend because it got added at the end, but we did add a fence.
What
along
is the composition
existing.
of the fence?
It would have to meet city code, it'd be a wood fence.
So it's going to be wooden?
6-foot
Nothing
wood
else
fence.
outside of that?
No. We'd have to get a variance for anything else.
So let's talk about this grading easement. So I hate to, it was on the plat. I understand what the grading easement's for. How does it how does it carry through? Is it a temporary easement?
It would be a temporary easement, yes, just so that we
So
can
it's gonna go
grade
away.
and handle water, right, once
Is
we're,
this, is Cypress, I know it's the same owner, is it is
Yes,
it the same owner of record
yes, it
as
is,
filed?
yes.
Okay, for both? Okay. What is the density here? Does anybody know? Does anybody count it? Eight?
Just under 8.
7.79 is what we count.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's zone PRD. How long has it been zoned that? I'm just curious
I
how
think
long.
ever since the zoning's been in place.
Okay, I was just trying to think about homeowners when
I'm
they bought
saying
their
that
house.
from my opinion
Okay.
of that. So I'm not aware of this property going through any zoning change since the zoning has been in effect in the city limit.
And one-
You might have more research on that, I don't know.
No, it's been zoned PRD, and just thought on the comments concerning Millwood and increase in traffic. For those that have moved into the area recently, Millwood was originally planned to circle around and be an access to additional land to the west of this. So the 4-lane was intended for higher traffic counts originally, so.
What is the maximum density on, for the PRD? Where does that stand as a comparison to R1 or R2?
6 to 12.
So we're within the same density if they came in and did an R1 development, is that correct?
No, R1 is 3,
Okay.
but for townhomes, garden apartments, it would be closer to an R2, would be 6 to 12 units.
And Jason, what was the density of the existing townhomes on Edge Hill Cove?
Edge Hill Cove is 14.
Right. And that's directly across Millwood.
Okay. Any buffers, I know they're gonna clear, and actually gonna clear further to the north as well too. Is there any buffer requirements to the PRD that's required by code to the adjoining residential, to the existing residential? This is all PRD to the north and to the west. Assuming, I don't know what the existing neighborhood is for sure, but is there any buffering required?
I'm not aware of any, Mr. Chair. It's
I thought
residential
that was the answer,
abutting
and I wanted to make sure
residential.
that was the case.
What, we talked about the pass-through gate, and I don't remember what was said about that. We talked about there was a reason, I think.
They would have to private gate the whole thing, they'd have to private gate to Millwood.
So,
It doesn't get them out of any requirements, they still have to meet the same requirements for the construction of the roads and streets, but it would be designated as private.
and one of the reasons for the staff recommendation for this to be a through street is also for service by sanitation and others in order to easier access and service the area.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am, Miss Mary.
Roy, is there any consideration based on comments today to remove some of the units to provide, let's just be creative and say some park area or parking slots, so you have designated visitor parking so the congestion's not on the street, because that, and anything as an alternate to reduce the density, that has been, like a plan B or anything like that.
So this development's actually, for us, doing the design plan B. We had a different client come in earlier this year that looked at doing single family and went through site layout and grading plan and utility, and the dollars and cents don't work. The cost of development
Price point would be too high.
was too expensive, correct. As far as parking, one of the things that distinguishes townhomes with single family, more of a single family, single lot versus multifamily is we have individual parking. When you go to multi-park or parking lot kind of thing, then you start to get classified more into apartments.
giving that as an alternate, because I know, just in a different city and state, we had a community too that provided 2 areas, 4 to 5 slots for, we called it visitor parking, to relieve the congestion, because parking was on one side of the street, and again, the driveway could house maybe 1 or 2 cars in the driveway. But they were double-car garages, but it was still congested at times. You have company, you have holidays, you have all of that, and what do people do? So, just putting that out there to listen to the comments and see if there's any other options. I know we're here tonight, but, some of the points I think are valid to me of what they're saying. And again, back to the fencing or that barrier or the buffer, I think you called it, can that be extended? I know we're saying it's 25 foot. Can that be extended then? And then I know it cuts into those units again. Can it be longer so there is a wider separation from this development and the single family homes?
I'm a little confused on that question.
Well, I think what I'm hearing, and I guess I do want to comment that contrary to some previous public comments, the city is not in, I forgot the word that was used, cahoots or something with the contractor. Our intent is to make sure, and we've heard good public comment tonight that I think are certainly justifiable, and I think that's what Commissioner Winnick is saying, is there a thought or an option of going back and trying to integrate some of these concerns
Thank you for restating my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess yes, and we can certainly look at that. I'm not sure how the visitor parking, who owns that? I guess that's a city parking lot at that point. I'm not sure how that works out.
Good point.
But then my question to you was the 25-foot buffer. I wasn't understanding where you were talking about for that.
Just, right, correct, one of those.
She's saying, can you?
Lot 55?
Lot 55.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. We can certainly look at that, and I can try to adjust that and see what we can do. It really comes down to the economies to make the project viable. If that was single family, then that house would be 10 feet off that property line. A lot closer than it is right now.
No.
Roy, is your client at all at least willing to at least listen to what was said tonight?
Oh, certainly.
And see if there's some sort of middle ground that they could come to? Because I think what we heard tonight is very valid, and I understand that they've got a project they want to do, but maybe we can.
I mean, we were willing to not have the connection, and that was the city request on that. The fence, we're willing to add the fence. We were willing to go with trees or the fence, and it was requested to do the fence, not by us, but we'd be willing, landscaping or the fence. The fence is a little more permanent than landscaping. Maybe it's a little, if you're gonna do landscaping, we would do something like was done on the townhomes over by the Country Club of Arkansas golf course, the arborvitaes. Some people like those, some don't, because actually the deer love to eat those. But they also provide a place for people to hide, more so than a fence. A fence, visible straight line, it's a little easier for people to see what's going on.
Roy, did you say that it was staff's? So when your applicant first came in, you had this as a long cul-de-sac. How long was this? Is this over 750 foot from, is it over 750 foot from Millwood all the way to the property line on the east?
I think it's gonna be pushing close to the length.
So then that would require a variance. But was it your client's preference to have the cul-de-sac?
We're fine having a dead end. We're totally fine.
And staff did not support that? Because if you did dead end and they built the fence, then it will provide some of the autonomy that our public comments were made tonight.
Dump truck would have to turn around
Yeah, that would
Well, fire
increase
truck.
noise
I've got no
factors.
fire truck.
It's no different than anything else that we have dead ends in the city.
Right, but then it still leaves the dead end on the Highland Point side that they're contending with garbage pickup and emergency services.
That exists today.
They exist today, correct?
So staff doesn't want to concede with that. I don't know, and I'm not sure from a public comment standpoint tonight, I just said, you know, that eliminates a lot of their concerns about everything running through the subdivision.
Roy, on the drawing, it shows open space, quite a bit of open space outside of each individual lot. In the bill of assurance, I don't see anything addressed as to who maintains that open space. After that's all cleared and cut, the hill I'm talking about, not the trees,
The
but the trees as well.
nearly 44% of green open space, that would be by a POA.
So would the bill of assurance not address that?
We will get in there, yes.
It's a draft. It's a requirement of the submission.
Right.
Are you gonna have, I'm just looking at these grades here, Roy, and you will have a retaining wall on that north
There
side.
will be some retaining walls, yes.
Without doubt.
Yes.
So how are you, and right now, from the property is, could you design that as such where you could come in a 20 or 30 foot, I don't know, you'd have to look at it, and then drop that down, meaning that you provide that 20 to 30 foot, a 20 or 25 foot buffer, perhaps back to the property line with the retaining wall. Retaining wall gets taller, I understand that, but then you'd still have the ability to have buffer between that, at least on the north side, back to these residents on top of the hill. What
The
is the
residents
closest?
on top of the hill aren't gonna see us.
How close are they? 300 feet?
No, they're 475 feet over to the back of Stone Ledge.
I see what you're saying.
They're further up the hill. Well, over the hill.
Are you gonna have, is that gonna be MSE? Or it'll have, if not, you're gonna have to have an easement to do the tieback, it's too tall.
Well, that's if we, depending upon what wall we do, the grading easement would give us the ability to do that, at
You
least
said it
get
was
it.
temporary earlier.
That easement,
Are
right,
you
but
gonna
I would
plat it
still
with?
be on my property with it, but it would make construction of it easier. But if I'm gonna have to go across it, then that changes the plan, if I have grid or whatever we have. And we know we're gonna, based on surface rock, we know we're gonna have some rock out there too.
So staff's position the same based upon public comment that you want this road to go through?
I think I would rather refer that to other staff, Public Works and Fire, and those that,
The gentleman that was on Highland, which side is your trash picked up on? I would assume it'd be Highland Point Cove.
Yes, it is on Highland.
You're not putting your trash up into the stub there, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You're not, it just goes, I was just trying to make a point, is that, you know, the utility access for sanitation is along Highland Point Cove.
That's correct.
You're not putting
They've
your
done it
cans.
for 40 years, I don't see why they can't continue to do it.
Right, for 45, I think, Tommy said 45 earlier, so.
what's the elevation difference between the eastern side of this Woodland Lane addition and the Millwood side? What's the elevation gain? Is that?
There's not a lot
It's
of.
fairly
It's pretty
straight.
Right.
Okay, so you're not gonna deal with vehicles having to gear up to go up the hill, when they turn back around?
No, that's
Okay.
not bad at all. No, it might actually provide a little better grading if we didn't make the connection.
I mean, I would, from a staff standpoint, if it is feasible, I would be willing to concede as long as it's contingent upon further review by city staff and engineer. for that cul-de-sac to make sure that there's not gonna be any conflicts.
I find it hard to believe that lot 55 and 1 may end up going, so your client may have to be okay with that.
I know.
I'm probably stating the obvious to you, I understand. But that helps Mary's concern as well, too. And I don't know, I don't know if you know, as far as that, the stub is there, is that, I assume that's dedicated right away, right?
Yes.
And I know it was platted that way, we've seen plats, you provided us that before, but it is, of course, we don't know what we don't know until we hear from the public, and we provided that opportunity tonight. But it is, in Tommy's initial opening comments, is that I would agree that, you know, the size of the house or the home, the domicile, is, you know, 1,800 square feet. But it's quite a different layout, quite a bit different layout. And I would say that the neighborhoods are quite different between the two. And if we had that initially, if your client's okay with the cul-de-sac and that's what they want, then I don't know. Of course, we'd have to go through another round of public comment. That would be enough change. But then that would be a clear delineation between the two neighborhoods, because you'd fence that all the way down the
Yes,
east
we
side,
would.
correct?
What is the number of homes allowed on the street before you have to have a secondary access or ingress or egress?
32 or 33, one of the two.
So we exceed that, so
Right.
if you put one of those
30.
gates at the end of that cul-de-sac,
It'd be for emergency vehicle only access.
so that would satisfy that, but from a grading standpoint, the road still needs to connect then. I mean,
Well,
I
you
think
can,
that-
you can connect,
Well,
you can connect the roads without having to build a full road. You can have, as long as you can do, is it, I believe, Chief, is it 20,000 pounds?
Well, but from a grade standpoint, the fire truck can't go over a dip.
No,
to
we'd
work.
still have to make it that he could maneuver that.
That would reduce the traffic through.
It would have to be gated and secure at that standpoint.
But it sounds like it would have to connect in the
Right,
case of an
yes.
emergency,
Yes.
at a minimum.
And just,
Is the 32 code on, Chief, is that fire code on the 32?
30.
But with the emergency access or ingress on Wynwood, then that would satisfy code, if that was provided, right? Okay. As long as you had a thoroughfare through, just like any of the other emergency access, the ones that's on top of the hill now, that comes
Yes.
along the same way, it was done the same way.
Yes.
So what would the magic number be if the code says 30, 32, and we said, okay, we've got 55, even if it trimmed back to 54, if you lost lot number 55?
Anything over 30, I have to have a secondary access.
Well, you would provide the emergency ingress egress like we've done in other subdivisions at this point, right? At the connection point on the east end of the subdivision. And then that satisfies code, as long as chief has a way to access it on an emergency basis.
And
So there's a
that's
Knox
the gate.
box off Odom. If you're driving on Odom, it goes from, it used to be north to south, and you go north, and there's an entryway into that subdivision on top of the hill. It's done the same way. It's gated with a Knox. And they had the same thing with the steep turn up there too, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Hi, Chief.
Good evening, sir.
Evening.
Scott Eaton, 2000 Murphy Drive, the fire marshal. Yes, sir, anything over 30 has to have secondary ingress, egress, or can be sprinkled. The problem becomes, just like your codes and ordinances, that emergency is due to certain exceptions, such as the terrain doesn't allow a secondary egress. Convenience is not, unfortunately, a reason to have a gated emergency egress and egress. And so we're starting to get into the point where we're starting to gate off public roads that do not need to be gated off, because all that's going to do is slow our response down. So that's going to have to look at real close to allow a gate to be put there.
So Chair, if I may, just kind of since we're talking about cul-de-sacs, here's a couple of rules on the cul-de-sacs. Obviously, as you mentioned, over 750 feet unless otherwise approved by the planning commission. With that said, then, the terminus of the road can be no closer than 50 feet to the boundary. So you're then required to have a minimum 50 foot between the boundaries, which now you get into your emergency access using something different, Greencrete, gravel, something, if we're gonna have that emergency access. And then since the city does not allow hammerheads or Ts, it has to be a 100-foot radius traffic cul-de-sac.
And one thing that, so the Mountain Terrace Estates, which were quadplexes built off of South Odom, they had a emergency access gate on one of their entry roads. And the residents there now want that gate taken down, but it was originally approved just for access so that they only had one means of ingress and egress. So thinking into the future, this may be wanted now, but 15, 20 years down the road, what's going to be the temperature of this? So for me, I'd rather have the road connected, whether if it's a turnaround now with a gate and then, but all the way. But either way, I support the chief's recommendations and concerns.
I personally would have a little concern if there were a cul-de-sac at the end of that, going back to Mary's comment, and this went back to that Colson development. Because there's a shortage of parking off-street, I suspect that a cul-de-sac would become the gathering point for all the extra cars. When the fire truck comes, or an ambulance, or there's a wreck up here at the other end, now nobody can find the owner of the car. So I don't know, that doesn't seem, I understand the neighbor's concerns, but that doesn't seem to be a good answer from a safety standpoint.
And you're saying that would be a cul-de-sac without a gate?
Well, I'm saying if you put a gate there, you're just gonna have cars parked in front of it all the time. I think that's gonna be the
You think they'll
reality.
park in front of the gate?
I think in a second they'll park in front of the gate. Personally, I could be wrong. I think you have short driveways and little space between them, and you're gonna have 1,800-foot houses. You're gonna have a lot of people living there. That's just my own gut feel.
Can I ask a question about something else? About the parking, if we were to find a way to make that an extra few spaces or something work, can I do that from a staff level standpoint? Or is that
where are we entertaining about putting these parking spaces?
Between 34, 35?
Yes.
One spot.
On the corner. It's still pretty steep. He's about this corner here.
Yeah, that's definitely open area.
Roy, how wide are the lots in the neighborhood in front of the clubhouse at Country Club of Arkansas?
Oh, those are 20 foot.
And
Those are the unit only on that one.
I'm sorry?
That's the unit only itself.
Right.
On that development. They don't have any yard space on those.
Right. But they have a
They have a
there's
double
two-car
car
garage, but
on
there's
those
no
units.
driveway.
It's the loop around, that's
Right.
right.
So the parking there is those extra spaces,
Yes.
kind of a community space, I guess.
I don't know, and I'm hung up a little bit on this wall on the backside of the MSC. I was like, if the wall is, and you do tiebacks, you need to sell more property. We don't need a tieback on a retaining wall that's 10 or 15 foot on somebody else's easement.
No,
It's
it
just
couldn't
asking
be.
for trouble.
No.
That's asking for trouble. As far as the parking goes, or additional I don't know what that, I mean, I know you have a third party here involved with the developer. Is that, what goes on here? Because the mailbox is gonna go what the US Postal Service tells you you're gonna do, right?
Yes.
So they'll be in one area.
Most
right,
likely,
a
yes.
stack.
That's what
every
we're
how
having to
many-
do here, yes.
Yeah, right.
I just feel like if a gate would help the community and they were happy with that, we could make that work. I mean, I understand people might park in front of it. That's when you call police out there, tow their cars. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to find a middle ground.
Yeah, what do you want to take action? Does your client want to go ask for action? Or do you want to try to work with these folks some, Roy? What would you prefer to do? I don't know. I don't know where you're at with the
To
contract.
change it again, I'm back to sending out notices again.
Not,
Well, there's some sentiment, we could stretch the notice out to the folks on top of the hill, this time around. So all the folks there would have an opportunity, although they're 470, that's a long way away, but 475 feet, I don't know, they're functioning in a whole different subdivision as well, so.
So Chair, if the applications presented with the motion and voted on, are the engineering concerns that you have addressed at the engineering level? I mean, Commissioner Jones always makes it conditioned on the engineering.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna put in
comments.
a cul-de-sac, if we're going back in that direction with some gate, I would think you would need to resubmit. That's just, that's too big, it's gonna change too much, I think.
It still has to go on to, I mean, this isn't the final approval tonight.
It's a recommendation.
Right. I still have to go on to additional readings. But your question also on the engineering, yes, we still have to go through engineering approval on the whole design, the walls, the grading, the drainage, all that has to go through as well.
And he's got a short week, he won't make December.
No, it won't be December. It would be January.
You got Saturday and Sunday then.
I couldn't get the notices out in time.
so, and and I can, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, if I can read to the commissioner as to the approval process on this. So, you've got two option approval. If the preliminary development plan is approved by the Planning Commission, it will be forwarded to the City Council for review. If the preliminary development plan is conditionally approved, the applicant shall have 90 days from the date of the Planning Commission action granting conditional approval to submit a revised preliminary development plan. If the staff determines such revisions are in conformance with the Planning Commission's specific recommendations, it shall be forwarded to the City Council for public hearing and disposition. If the revisions are determined not to be in conformance with the intent of the conditional approval, the revised preliminary development plan will be resubmitted to the Planning Commission for public hearing. So
But that's without, that's without a public hearing, a subsequent public hearing.
that would be, right, to be sent back to the Planning Commission for another resubmitted. So resubmission means more notification.
If you desire, that's your call.
So we would review it if you wanted to approve it conditioned upon the things that have been stated today, then they have up to 90 days to make those changes, and then we'll review it, and if it meets the intent, then we'll send it on to City Council.
Even if Chief Eaton is satisfied, it would still require a variance because you're too long on the road. I guess that's required, but that's, you stated that's a approval of the Planning Commission.
Correct.
So what we're saying is that if we approve tonight, based upon the length, which is 900 something feet, put the cul-de-sac in, then that would suffice the requirement of the code?
So, Mr. Chair, as I'm reading this from the section, it's 7132-5A. It doesn't say anything about a variance, it says shall have a maximum length of 750 feet unless otherwise approved by the Planning Commission. So it doesn't seem like there would be a variance needed in this case, on the way I'm reading it. And the variances come in when they are presented with the plat, but this doesn't seem to be a variance. It's by the purview of the planning commission itself.
Yeah, and the 32 building requirement is a requirement of code, so that's at staff level too. If chief can't get comfortable with it, it doesn't go through.
That's a fire code of 30 and need a secondary,
We've had that before.
secondary entry, or as Chief Eaton said, sprinkled.
And then, for disapproval, if the preliminary development plan is denied, the applicant may appeal to the city council, provided a written request is filed within 30 days of the denial by the planning commission.
So if somebody's gonna make this contingent, is a consensus that we try to work through with the cul-de-sac and try to satisfy Chief Eaton's concerns on the 30, to see if we can get him satisfied, because he's gotta work on some grading down here to see if he can get that to connect, which he has it as a through street already, so they're already committed to that. But if you're at a 100-foot radius, it's gonna dig into he's gonna lose some lots there on him, there's no doubt about it. But he wanted it that way to start with. You get paid by the hour, Roy?
Nope.
For the lot. I'm on the fence, either way, what are the pleasure of the commission is to move forward? You know, it seems like these folks here, the next door neighbors, which one came, it seems like they really want some autonomy from this, so, you know, can we get there with it? I don't know, Roy has a pretty good task, if you put conditions that we've gotta have the cul-de-sac and code requirements, then, he'll have to tackle it. It sounds like he was headed down that path to start with, and to provide the development autonomy from the existing neighborhood to the east.
I'm sure we can work with staff to get it worked out.
I don't think the chair can make a motion. So you guys have to either, or try, or if that's where you're at with it, I mean, we've listened to a good argument here, or good, you know, sentiment, really opposing it and trying to listen, you know, look at the neighbors that are there. You know, it's a stretch at 45 years that this thing's been a stub, and I know that sanitation works, and Chief would still have access into the two exit, just like he does today, to be able to do the fire. And then we've worked through, I'm not saying that we can work through this challenge here, but we have worked through in other subdivisions being able to satisfy the chief. But I'm not twisting his arm for public safety, that's for sure. He has to be satisfied, of course.
And Mr. Chair, regardless of the decision here tonight, I would like to add one additional staff comment, since we do have a topic on the item concerning grading and the language in the code that is we're trying to work through. Staff would request that grading not be allowed until final approval of the development plan through City Council.
It's fair ask. Chair would entertain a motion.
Commissioners, I don't mind doing the motion, but I do not agree with the motion. I believe it should just be a through street for public safety.
It's up, yeah, John, the motion's always made in the affirmative regardless of your
Absolutely.
your vote, so.
I will go for it. I move a do pass recommendation to the City Council for subdivision 25-13 Winwood Heights Phase 1 preliminary development plan contingent on further staff, commissioner, and city engineer comments and the addition of a cul-de-sac. Is that
So we have yeah, in accordance to the clarification that was given by staff, there's no variance required for the length, or the stem length of the cul-de-sac. So as long as it's approved by planning commission. So we're admitting that would be approved, and then the cul-de-sac be placed. Also, we have the no activity, grading or otherwise will be permitted on the property until the preliminary development plan is approved at council. And what are you gonna do about parking? So we got parking in there too as well, the development parking, which would be west of lot 35 and north of lot 34. And if it doesn't work out and you can't get it done, then I guess we'll see you when you get back, if it passes. Are you okay with those comments as stands? Your client will be okay with that?
So we are required to add parking? I didn't
I'm
understand
asking.
that last part.
That was Mary's comment. So if it goes forward, do you want the parking consideration?
I'm concerned is, again, whose responsibility to maintain that then, like he said.
It'd be a POA. He stated as such.
Okay.
Yes, no?
No.
No? Okay. So no parking to answer your question, Roy.
Then we will work with staff to get the cul-de-sac.
Do I need to restate?
No, I think we're
Okay.
good. I think we're fine. Okay, so,
I'll second that, Chairman.
yes, sir, appreciate that. So we've got, a motion and a second on the floor to act on the approval of the Wynwood subdivision, proposal here based upon the assortment of comments. So a little bit rough, but we're trying to get you down the road here a little bit so we can get some direction. So, we're gonna do this by roll call, if that's okay with you. Hate to call people out, but I just wanna keep up with it. So, Miss Mary, you for or against?
Against?
That's a no. John?
No.
I'm gonna say yes.
In favor.
Tracy's in favor. Miss Alice?
Yes.
It's a tie, because we have, let's see, we have,
Hey, you got one more.
no, Miss Rose, I'm sorry. Hi, Rose. Are you for or against?
For.
Okay. So motion passes. So this will be a recommendation, but boy, you got you got a stack of, yeah, the only thing that I ask is that if you have, if you guys can get organized a little bit in the subdivision, if that's possible, and get, someone that could be involved in the process with staff. Because if we're moving forward, the only other public hearing will be at the council meeting when that moves forward, which won't be in December. For sure, it's probably gonna be moved in January, and I don't even know if the applicant knows when that is. But I would say, if you call staff here, which Scott Grummer will be your contact, or Jason Line will be your contact, and then you can kind of keep a pulse of things going through. As soon as they submit, or whatever submitted to the city, it is a matter of public record. So you would have the opportunity to look at that, and you can offer comment. You won't have it in a public hearing standpoint, but you would have the opportunity to participate with staff. If you can find out, if you get just one or two. I'm sure staff would appreciate that, so.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, he does have up to 90 days to make the revisions, but he's not required to do any more legal notifications. This is the notification, so I think for the public, if you're not aware, if you go to maumelle.org, the city's website, you can go to the Agenda Center and watch the city council agenda meetings. If you would like to be on a list, email list, you're more than happy to provide it to us, and we'll send notifications out whenever that does get on the city council agenda.
Very good, thank you. So we're over to the proposed preliminary plat. The only question I have on the plat is that if it is this easement here, which I know it's preliminary, I get that, but we need to say if it is temporary, meaning that is it gonna, if it's not gonna stay, it's just a grading easement, which in my mind is temporary. It's not gonna go with the development. But I don't really, my preference here is, Roy, is that if we do not want an MSE wall back there without that being incorporated within the property line. And I think
Okay.
you're in agreement with that.
Good.
That's just asking for trouble.
Mr.
That's
Chair, I would also make one recommendation if it is the intent of the planning commission to have the cul-de-sac. You are probably gonna need a 40-foot wide, 25 to 40-foot wide emergency access easement from the cul-de-sac to Wynwood Lane. That would be the secondary access, if that would work with the chief.
Yeah, he'll have to work it out. Whatever the man wants regarding
That
that
is-
fire.
That'll be a contingency then for the plat.
Yep. Any other staff comment? I didn't allow you to introduce it, but we hammered on it pretty good. So we've got, the only question is the only thing about the grading easement is if there's any structural requirement needed to support a retaining wall or any other thing back there, then I want the revised plat or the conveyance of the property to be reflected as so. I don't even think we want that in an easement, period. So
Okay.
I'm okay with the grading easement called such, but if there's something of structural, that is going back there, I do not want anything in that easement regarding that, because it's gonna be a pretty good cut, that will come down, or maybe tiered for that matter. So, see how he ends up designing it.
Okay.
Any questions? Staff entertain a motion, or Chair would entertain a motion?
I got this. I motion to do pass recommendation to the city council for,
Actually, this is.
oh, which one?
This stays with us,
Stays
Ms.
with
Rose.
planning commission, so this is an approval. You're good.
I don't know that verbiage.
It's just, you recommend approval.
We'll approve it.
I recommend that, the, planning commission approves item number, SUV -25-13, Wynwood Heights Phase 1, item B, which is the proposed preliminary plat.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing first and second, the commission will now act on the approval of the Wynwood Heights Phase 1 proposed preliminary plat. All those for say yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, no.
No,
Got one no?
one no.
One no, motion carries. It is approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Number 6 is a code amendment to section 94, uses allowed in PCD. Staff has request deferral to December for that item, so won't be in discussion. And then we do have a discussion only item on the, we're trying to clean up several, and you guys saw that, so staff does have a presentation to walk us through. They've done a nice job, and I'll let them present that. Who's ever presenting to try to clean up our code regarding the grading and clearing activities in the city. Who's presenting?
I'll present this one, Mr. Chair. So, based on the comments that you provided during subcommission meeting, we went in and did a review of the chapters that we have interpreted that was used prior to when we came in. And we did find, we provided a report to you. I don't know how much you've been able to go through it, but you'll find that the proposed improvements to establish clear direction for staff to follow when drafting amended code language. So the goal in this is to clarify when grading is allowed. It has been somewhat convoluted with Chapter 70 requiring grading and clearing after construction documents, whereas Chapter 94, 451 in the PCD and PRD zone states that grading, or we interpreted as grading being after the approval of the preliminary plat. So the goal is to tie in action to the final approval. So with a preliminary subdivision plat that is not in a PUD, then we would be looking at language that would provide the commencement of that, but tying it back, requiring, let's see, clearing grading is not allowed until final approval by the final approving body, whether it's the PC or the council is complete. Clarity in plan, the plan must be explicit regarding what gets cleared and what does not, including all buffers clearly denoted for the initial contractor, which the chair has mentioned he wants on there. And then the physical protection orange fencing must be used to clearly mark non-clearing areas and must be in the place prior to the clearing and grading. And then integration, combine clearing requirements into the existing grading permit structure of 94-13. So if you go in on the second page of that report, what staff is proposing to code section 94-13C1 is to remove the exception in that, which the exception states without a permit, delete or reword the exception that allows grading without a permit if otherwise authorized by Maumelle City Code. We interpreted the code that authorized it in a PUD, so by placing that, taking that out, then it requires the authorization through a grading permit. 9413, condition precedent, insert language specifying that a grading permit shall only be issued after the preliminary plat or development plan has received final approval from the final approving body, either the planning commission or city council, depending on the zoning development type. And then section 94-451, execution versus design, clarify the language to state that preliminary approval authorizes the design of grading, but the execution of clearing grading is contingent upon final council approval and issuance of section 94-13. And that's specifically in section 94-451, which is in a PUD. So that's separate from what you would see where is in a non-PUD. And then ensuring subdivision code alignment, proposed staff action in section 70-73D1C under the preliminary plat approval, add specific clause to exclude land clearing, grubbing, or mass grading activities from the authorization granted to proceed with public improvement installation. This ensures that the more restrictive and detailed requirements of the Chapter 94 grading permit control the start of site work. And then action 3, mandating physical protections, and that's getting in with the SWIP construction requirements, providing for orange construction safety fencing in section 94-13, which is the grading permit, and then sequence enforcement, strengthen the language to clearly state that the installation and documentation of all initial SWIP best management practices must be fully functional and inspected prior to commencement of any land clearing or grading activity. And then the third page, we provided the existing code chapters and the language that are in there. So I think with these additions, we'll be able to achieve what you're trying to accomplish, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I think this is a well-done document. I appreciate it. Couple things. I think we ought to take a back and look at what the requirements are on the grading permit to make sure that when the applicants are submitting the grading permit, they shall clearly denote the orange fencing, shall clearly denote if we're going to do signs. I had recommended putting signs up as well too, just considering things that I've had happen, like I say, throughout my career is like, you know, and I'm not asking for this big burden, but something that would weather through, or a weathering sign that would clearly say this is the clearing buffer, no clearing activity should be in it. And I'm not sure, I go back a little forth about, you know, shall not be disturbed, clearing, disturbed. Sometimes, well, we grubbed it, you know, that's not clearing, you know, so we get into maybe there needs to be a little bit of definition there as well too. And then all that to be stayed in place until the property is actually, I guess until building permits issued or whatever, you know, how long is that to stay in place? The orange fencing should stay in place to perpetuity of the development until it's complete. So we have to, other than that, the developer's just gonna pull it up, especially when he wants to sell lots. So that probably needs to be identified as well. And I think those requirements are gonna be more in the grading permit section. And this is triggering when it can occur, I guess, if you will. Those are my only comments. I appreciate you guys doing that. Just for you, you know, we see shortcomings, you know, for those that are in the audience, we see shortcomings when they happen. And this is not the first time we've had shortcomings, you know, that's happened through development planning process. So, you know, in 3 months, we've got code corrections in place to make sure that what happened doesn't happen again. So, or to best our ability, you know, if we had something like this in place, it probably wouldn't have happened. So, but crisis drives opportunity, right?
Well, and I do want to comment, I guess, and just reiterate that staff has followed the same procedures over the last several years in other subdivisions that have been approved in PUD. So, but this, I think, would be a good addition, and as you stated, prevent unwanted grading.
Very good. Any other discussion? Well, this will come back up for discussion in a December meeting. Probably more than likely, if this is, you said that we are going to have some application. I'm not going to drag us a couple weeks before Christmas to just have discussion items. So we'll have that opportunity again in January before it moves forward. So that being said, if we have applicants and we have things that we need to act on, then I'll intend on moving forward with the meeting, but if it's discussion, we'll probably give
Well,
you guys.
we have the two code amendments already deferred to December.
So if you want to move those forward, they were deferred, so.
Yeah.
So they did, I guess they were deferred to the same date, so if they were going to require action, I guess we'll do those, so. Any other questions? So we got some reports from commissions, so we'll close public hearing, and we'll go to city council liaison reports, the first to be November 3, which is Vice Chair Gill.
Yes, Chairman, on November 3rd, there were several items which were all readings, actually. They had some readings on the agenda under unfinished business, which were carried to the November 17th meeting. So that was
Yes, sir.
reading on the Colson edition items, Colson Point edition. And then, as far as new business, they had first readings on ordinance 1154 on the A1 zoning district, and the first reading on 1155, the amendment to the city code to create the A1 district. Those were read and then went forward. That's all for November 3rd meeting.
Thank you, Tracy. Commissioner Rose for November 17.
Thank you, Chairman. During the November 17th meeting, the City Council held first readings for Ordinance 1158, and that was to amend the Master Street Plan for Country Club of Arkansas. Ordinance 1159 was to amend the Master Street Plan for Industrial Park. And Ordinance 1160 was to amend the Master Street Plan for the Morgan Maumelle area. There were second readings for Ordinance 1154, and that was the creation of the A1 zoning district, and 1155 to amend the city code to create A1 land use category. Then those deferred readings were conducted on the 17th, and they were third readings for ordinances 1148, and that was accepting the annexation of Colson Point Edition. 1149 was amending the land use plan for Colson Point, and 1150 was amending the zoning map for Colson Point.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Look at me next month on December 1, and then Commissioner Ray on December the 15th. I did ask a question of staff, I guess, as these master plan amendments come up. Is it a preference of council to, we've grouped them before, and they seem to not have an issue. Perhaps it was just the political sensitivity of this one, and they requested to bust them apart. They didn't send it back to us, thank goodness, which is a benefit, or blessing, I should say. But if there is some sentiment politically, I guess maybe we should take that heed the next time they come before us, because we did have quite a bit of public comment on those. So they elected to bust them apart, as it seems. So inappropriate, probably so. Any other comments? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have first. Do I have a second? Thank you, sir. Those all in favor of adjournment, say